The UFC is not just about wins and losses, it is a sport built on pressure, emotion, pain, and moments where fighters are pushed far beyond normal human limits. While some fights simply entertain, others feel overwhelming and almost uncomfortable to watch because of how intense they become. True intensity in MMA is created when elite skill collides with real danger, when momentum shifts again and again, and when fighters refuse to give up even as their bodies begin to fail. These battles are not forgotten with time, they live on in the memories of fans forever. Today, we break down the top 10 most intense fights in UFC history, counting down from number 10 to the most emotionally explosive fight the sport has ever witnessed. 10. Robbie Lawler vs. Carlos Condit, UFC 195. This fight was built on relentless pressure rather than wild chaos, with Robbie Lawler constantly moving forward and forcing exchanges, while Carlos Condit relied on sharp movement, heavy kicks, and high volume to stay competitive and dangerous throughout. Lawler's raw power meant Condit had to fight perfectly at all times, while Condit's non-stop output forced Lawler to absorb punishment across 5 exhausting rounds, creating tension where neither man could slow down or feel safe. Even without a knockout or submission, the intensity came from how razor-close every round felt, leaving fans divided for years and proving that true dominance can exist through pressure, endurance, and sustained violence rather than dramatic finishes alone. 9. Dan Henderson vs. Shogun Rua, UFC 139. This fight looked less like a technical contest and more like a brutal test of endurance, with both fighters suffering heavy damage and still pushing forward, as knockdowns happened in almost every round without either man staying down for long. Dan Henderson landed some of the hardest right hands in MMA history, while Shogun Rua answered back with relentless flurries and powerful combinations that seemed capable of ending the fight at any moment. The intensity came from watching two legendary warriors refuse to fall, continuing to trade punishment with sheer willpower, even as the damage they absorbed visibly shortened their careers and defined the fight as a true war. 8. Justin Gaethje vs. Michael Johnson TUF 25 Finale. From the opening bell, this fight felt extremely dangerous, as Michael Johnson landed clean, powerful shots that rocked Justin Gaethje badly and pushed him to the edge within the early moments of the contest. Instead of backing away or slowing down, Gaethje marched forward through the damage, turning the fight into a savage shootout where both men threw with bad intentions. The intensity came from pure unpredictability, because at any second either fighter could collapse from a single strike, and the crowd felt that tension rise with every violent exchange inside the cage. 7. Nate Diaz vs. Conor McGregor, UFC 202. This fight carried intensity long before it began, driven by trash talk, ego, and unfinished business, and when the cage finally closed, the tension instantly felt personal and unavoidable for both fighters. Conor McGregor relied on sharp precision and knockout power, while Nate Diaz trusted his toughness and relentless cardio, creating constant momentum swings that kept fans unsure of who was in control. The later rounds became even more intense as fatigue set in, blood covered both faces, and every single strike felt powerful enough to completely change the outcome of the fight. 6. Joanna Jędrzejczyk vs. Weili Zhang, UFC 248. This fight redefined intensity in women's MMA through relentless pace and devastating damage, both fighters maintaining a ferocious output rarely seen over 5 rounds, never giving an inch, never slowing, each strike landing with precision and purpose, pushing each other to the absolute limit. As their faces swelled and cuts opened, the battle became as much about endurance as skill, with neither fighter backing down, trading combinations that tested every ounce of cardio, technique, and mental toughness, leaving fans on the edge of their seats, amazed at the resilience displayed. The intensity came from sustained excellence under extreme punishment, proving that skill and toughness could coexist flawlessly, creating a fight remembered for its fearlessness, determination, and unyielding heart. 5. Forrest Griffin vs. Stephan Bonnar, The Ultimate Fighter 1 Finale. This fight changed the future of the UFC by showcasing raw heart over polished technique, both fighters giving everything despite exhaustion, refusing to yield, and pushing beyond their limits, making every moment feel critical and alive. By the final round, strategy vanished, leaving only relentless determination, chaotic exchanges, and full emotional investment, as each strike carried the weight of the fighter's willpower, leaving fans holding their breath with every move. The intensity wasn't just about violence, but about witnessing two warriors pour their souls into the fight, leaving it all in the octagon for the world to witness and remember forever. 4. Israel Adesanya vs Kelvin Gastelum UFC 236. This fight combined technical brilliance with relentless danger, Kelvin Gastelum dropping Adesanya multiple times and pushing him closer to defeat than ever before, making every moment unpredictable and high stakes, as fans feared the unthinkable could happen. Each round intensified the tension, with momentum swinging back and forth, keeping the audience on edge and wondering if the rising star could survive the onslaught, testing both fighters' skill, heart, and composure under extreme pressure. The final round explosion from Adesanya was sheer desperation and determination, cementing the fight as one of the most intense and unforgettable title bouts in UFC history. 3. Frankie Edgar vs Gray Maynard 2 UFC 125. This fight began with disaster for Frankie Edgar, who was knocked down repeatedly and nearly finished in the opening round, leaving fans fearing the worst from the very start, as every strike seemed like it could end the fight. Somehow, Edgar survived, and that survival created non-stop tension for the remainder, each exchange feeling fragile and critical, as both fighters battled with everything they had, refusing to give in despite exhaustion and damage. The intensity came from the perfect blend of constant danger and unyielding heart, transforming this bout into one of MMA's most legendary comeback stories ever witnessed. 2. Robbie Lawler vs Rory MacDonald UFC 189. This fight is often cited as the definition of a UFC war, with both fighters absorbing brutal damage while relentlessly trading power shots, each exchange escalating the tension and testing their limits. The fourth round staredown became iconic, a symbol of pride, pain, and unyielding determination, showing neither man would give an inch or display fear, as every moment carried immense weight. The intensity soared to a point where the fight felt historic in real time, leaving fans aware they were witnessing something extraordinary, a battle that would be remembered for its sheer courage, heart, and unforgettable brutality. 1. Khabib Nurmagomedov vs Conor McGregor UFC 229. This fight carried more intensity than any other in UFC history because it transcended sport, fueled by months of trash talk, personal insults, and national pride, creating a pressure cooker environment before either fighter even stepped into the octagon, as fans around the world waited with bated breath to see who would emerge victorious, making every moment feel monumental, almost unbearable, as the stakes were as much emotional as they were physical. From the opening bell, Khabib Nurmagomedov imposed his relentless grappling control, constantly pressuring Conor McGregor, dictating the pace, and wearing him down physically while attacking his confidence mentally, with each takedown and ground and pound sequence amplifying the tension, leaving Conor scrambling and the audience on the edge of their seats, aware that the fight was as much about survival as it was about skill, showcasing Khabib's mastery of strategy and composure under extreme circumstances. The intensity peaked not only in the action inside the cage but also in the aftermath, as post-fight chaos erupted, emotions boiled over, and the implications of the fight both for personal pride and professional legacy cemented this bout as the most emotionally explosive and unforgettable fight in UFC history, a contest remembered for dominance, drama, and raw human intensity. These fights remind us that intensity is not just about knockouts or blood, but about pressure, emotion, pride, and moments that push the boundaries of human will, creating memories that linger long after the final bell. The UFC has produced countless great fights, yet only a select few reach a level where every second feels heavy with consequence, where fans feel the tension and uncertainty as if they were inside the cage themselves, witnessing history unfold in real time. Legends are remembered not only for victories, but for enduring relentless intensity, for surviving chaos and giving everything they have, proving why MMA stands apart as a sport defined by courage, resilience, and unforgettable human drama.